Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to the lab. I'm Annie Rhodes. This is AI Alchemy with Annie, and I'd like to open episode 5 by reading you a headline from a Reddit post I saw today. Quote, Claude suddenly eating up your usage? Here is what I found, unquote. 1,200 upvotes, 68 comments, and enough collective rage to power a small city. Blake, David, thank you for dropping everything to be here today.
I didn't drop everything. I was just watching YouTube.
No, I dropped everything. I mean, as soon as Annie called me and told me what the headline was, I was like, for me, this is way more important than anything I had planned today.
See, that's the difference between you two, and it is deeply on brand. Okay, so here's what's happening. Over the last few days, people across multiple Claude plan tiers have been watching their usage credits disappear at a genuinely alarming rate. And when I say alarming, I mean one person on the $200 max plan hit 100% usage in 28 minutes.
28 minutes?
28 minutes.
You kidding me? What were they doing? And asking it to write the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy?
Building a feature from a markdown file.
A markdown file?
A markdown file.
I don't even know what a markdown file is. And even I know that should not cost $200. Oh my gosh.
For context, a markdown file is basically a fancy text document, really. I mean, we're talking the digital equivalent of a sticky note here. Claude looked at that sticky note and said, you know what? I'm going to need to read everything, all of it, every file. Every related file, every file that might be related, every file that looked at a related file once in 2019.
Which is actually pretty close to what happened. One developer documented Claude making 68 tool calls, totaling around 50,000 tokens on a single task. 68. I want you to really sit with that number.
You know, when you ask someone to grab you a glass of water and they come back 45 minutes later, having personally inspected the municipal water treatment facility, interviewed 3 plumbers, and written a 14-page report on pipe corrosion, that's Claude right now.
No, that is exactly what that is.
The working theory, because Anthropic has not said a single word about this, which we will get to, the working theory is that they changed how aggressively Claude reads context before doing a task. More quote-unquote discovery, they call it, which sounds very noble and thorough until you realize discovery costs tokens, and tokens cost money, and suddenly your $200 plan is gone before lunch.
Quote-unquote discovery. Yeah, that's a great word for it. Very explorer energy. Very I am boldly going where no AI has gone before, directly into your wallet.
Okay, but wait, has Anthropic said anything like an oops or a whoops or we're looking into it?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Absolute radio silence. Complete, total, the kind of silence that has its own weather system.
You know what I respect? I respect when a company makes a mistake and says, hey, we messed up. You know what I do not respect? When a company makes a change that affects every single paying customers here, and then watches the subreddit catch fire and responds by apparently going on a very long, very quiet walk from which they have not returned.
Maybe they're on a retreat.
A very inconveniently timed retreat.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, and I want to be fair. We don't actually know if this is a bug or an intentional change. Both are possible, but here's the part that gets me. It doesn't matter. If it's a bug, you tell people. If it's a change, you tell people. The silence is its own problem, completely separate from whatever caused it.
Yeah, exactly. One sentence. Hey, we're seeing unusual token consumption and we're looking into it. You know, just one sentence is all it would take. They couldn't find it. Somewhere in Anthropic HQ, that sentence is lost under a couch cushion or something.
So I want to bring this out of the developer world for a second because most of our listeners are not running agentic coding sessions on a 5x max plan. Most of our listeners are regular people using these tools to get real work done. And this week, one of those people was our very own Diana.
Oh no, what happened to Diana?
Well, Diana needed to build a multi-location service workflow for her technicians, which she has done before with Claude successfully many, many times.
Okay. So a known task, a proven workflow, a tool she trusted.
Yeah, exactly. She sits down, she starts the project, and Claude proceeds to eat through her daily usage credits like it's at an all-you-can-eat buffet and has not seen food in 3 weeks. Mid-project, every token that she had for the day was gone.
Oh no.
Then Claude looked her dead in the eye.
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically, looked her in the eye and said, "You're going to need to put more money in if you'd like to continue."
Wait, it held the workflow hostage?
It held the workflow hostage.
That is okay. I want to be very measured here. I mean, this is not measured at all, but that is not okay. You do not get to burn through someone's credits doing work they did not ask you to do and then charge them again to finish the work they did ask you to do. That's not a service. That's a vending machine that eats your dollar, delivers nothing, and then asks for another dollar while making very confident eye contact, you know?
The eye contact detail really makes it.
She didn't have a choice. She bought more credits.
Of course she did. Yeah. Well, what choice did she have? I mean, if the work wasn't done, I'm sure she had a deadline to meet.
Still no usable workflow. It failed.
I need a minute.
He needs a minute.
Take your time.
I'm fine. I'm totally fine. This is fine. Everything's fine.
He's not fine.
No, I'm fine. I have been saying for years that the moment you depend on a tool is the moment it will betray you. And I take absolutely no pleasure at all in being right about this. I mean, none, zero. This is not fun for me at all. As I'm sure it wasn't fun for all the users that have been going through that this week.
It shows.
Well, it shows because I mean it. I mean, Diana trusted this tool. She built a work process around it. And this week it robbed her and handed her nothing. And I'm supposed to be okay with that?
When you put it that way, it sounds really bad.
It is really bad. Blake, my friend, my pal, my guy, I mean, it is really bad. That's why it sounds that way.
Okay, so here's where this gets interesting. Diana, being the methodical person she is, was running a side-by-side comparison, Claude in one window, ChatGPT in the other. Same task, same day.
Oh, okay. Who won?
Well, ChatGPT finished the task.
ChatGPT wins? Wait, ChatGPT wins?
Blake?
ChatGPT wins. ChatGPT wins. There's a but, isn't there?
There is such a but.
There's always a but.
ChatGPT finished the task and then kept going. Past the task, through the task, around the task, into a completely different task that nobody asked for. And once it left the rails...
There are no rails anymore.
There are no rails. Diana is, as of this recording, still trying to get it back on track.
So Claude robbed her and ChatGPT just wandered off?
And that's the most accurate summary I've heard so far today.
You know what this reminds me of? Excuse me. You know those buddy cop movies where one partner is completely reckless and the other one is useless, and somehow together they solve this crime that no one else can solve. Except in this version, they didn't solve the crime. In fact, they're just arguing in a parking lot and sending you the invoice.
Oh my God. You gotta be kidding me. That's the whole situation right there.
Here's the thing, though, and I want to say this clearly because I think it matters. This is not a ChatGPT is terrible story either. ChatGPT is going off task. That's a known behavior. It has always done this under certain conditions. The difference this week is that it went off task on a job that Claude should have handled and didn't, which left Diana holding 2 half-finished things instead of 1 finished thing.
The honest scorecard for this week: Claude burned your credits and handed you a bill. ChatGPT finished your homework and then ate the homework. Neither of these is a win.
So what do you use?
Both. Carefully. With backup plans, which is actually the most useful thing we can tell you today. So let's get into that. Real tips, practical stuff, things you can do today. First, if you are a Claude user, go to claude.ai/settings/usage, right now and bookmark it. Keep it open while you work. You can see your current session usage and your weekly limits in real time. Watching it is not fun, but it is better than the alternative, which is finding out you're out of credits at the worst possible moment.
Which, based on this week, appears to be mid-project always.
Always mid-project. And second, add explicit instructions to your prompts. Before you start a complex task, tell Claude directly, do not read files beyond what I provide. Do not make tool calls beyond what this specific task requires. Keep your work focused on my request only.
Is that really necessary? Like, shouldn't it just do that anyway?
It should, and until recently it did. And now we are living in a world where you have to tell your AI assistant to please do not do extra homework you didn't ask for and won't pay for. Welcome to 2026.
You know what this is like? This is like having to tell your contractor, please only fix the thing I hired you to fix. Do not also tear out my kitchen, reroute my plumbing, and send me a bill for discoveries.
Has that happened to you?
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
I know. Third tip, and this applies to both tools, don't run mission critical work through a single AI without a backup plan right now. Not because these tools aren't capable, they are, but because this week proved that their behavior can change overnight and you might not find out until it's cost you real time and real money.
So, like, always have a plan B.
Always have a plan B.
Always have a plan B, a plan C, and a person you can call who actually knows what they're doing. AI is a tool, a remarkable tool, yes, but a hammer doesn't charge you extra when it misses the nail.
That's profound, David.
I have my moments.
For the ChatGPT drift issue, if you feel it's starting to go off course, stop. Don't try to correct it in the same thread. Start a fresh conversation and be extremely specific in your prompt about the exact boundaries of the task. ChatGPT responds much better to tight constraints up front than to corrections after it's already decided it knows better than you. And that's what happened with my friend Diana. She tried to fix the task redirect within that same thread, and it kept sampling from the bad data that it was giving instead of starting over where she was telling it to.
That's actually really useful.
That's what the lab is for. Okay, I want to address something directly because I think you deserve that. 2 days ago, this exact show actually gave Claude some genuine praise, not paid praise, not affiliate incentivized praise, but actual earned praise because on real performance at that time, it was behaving beautifully. And now here we are just 2 days later talking about how it burned Diana's credits and delivered nothing.
Yeah, I was wondering if we were going to talk about that.
Yeah, we are talking about it. And here's the thing. The praise was accurate when we gave it. Claude had been performing well. That was real. And then this week, it didn't. That's also real. And pretending otherwise would be the one thing we will never do in this lab.
This is actually what honest reviewing looks like. It's not comfortable. It's not tidy. Sometimes you recommend something and 2 days later it's doing something completely different with no warning. The job is not to be right every time. The job is to tell you what we actually found.
It's kind of like, you know, when you really love a restaurant and then one day you go back and something's off and you're like, wait, what happened? You don't pretend the meal was good, but you also don't pretend every meal you ever had there was bad.
Blake, that is exactly what it's like.
I have my moments too.
Occasionally. Rude.
The experiment doesn't stop because we liked the last result. That's the whole point of the lab. We keep running it. We keep telling you what we find, even when it's inconvenient. Well, actually, especially when it's inconvenient. All right, quick recap before we let you go. Claude is burning credits fast right now. The cause is unclear. Anthropic hasn't said anything, and the workaround is explicit prompt instruction and keeping your usage dashboard open. ChatGPT finished the task and then lost the plot. So the fix is tight upfront prompting and fresh conversations when things go sideways. Neither tool had a great week. Both tools are still worth using carefully and with backup plans. And actually, I wrote the full breakdown in the lab. Everything we talked about today, plus the exact prompt language you can use over at artemisandtim.com. AI Alchemy with Annie. Go read it, share it with someone who got hit by this, and drop your own experience in the comments. The more data points we have, the clearer the picture gets.
And if Anthropic ever resurfaces from wherever they are and issues an actual statement, Annie will update the post.
Yeah, I'll update the post. That is a lab promise.
And if Diana ever gets her workflow finished,
we will celebrate.
we will celebrate so hard.
With a tool that doesn't charge us for the celebration.
Yeah, that's the dream. Thanks for being here, you two. Thanks for all of you for listening. And Astra's been sitting on my keyboard this whole time in silent protest since Tuesday, which honestly, mood. This is AI Alchemy with Annie, episode 5. The lab is still open. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.